All right, for everybody, thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to get going here about 10 minutes. We're waiting for our fellow commissioner to arrive. So go ahead and take a 10-minute break here and then we'll get started. But thank you everybody for being here. I think everybody here is a part of the most attended planning commission meeting ever. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. So we'll get going about 10 minutes. Mic on? Okay. Alrighty, folks, we're gonna get started here. Sorry for the delay. So I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6:13. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Goebel, absent. Commissioner Jamu,
Present.
Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Perez,
Present.
Chairperson Condit.
Here. Can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, moving on to citizens communication. While the Ceres Planning Commission welcomes and encourages participation in the Planning Commission meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the Planning Commission from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Planning Commission. Citizens are entitled to address the Planning Commission on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Any emails?
No emails.
All right, closing citizens communication, moving on to conflict of interest. Is there anyone on the Planning Commission that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any agenda item? Seeing none, moving on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual commissioner or a member of the public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon a single roll call vote. Anyone on the commission that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Any members of the public? Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the consent calendar 1 through 4.
Motion to approve consent calendar 1 through 4.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Jamu,
Aye.
Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Perez,
Aye.
Chairperson Condit.
Aye.
Motion passes 4 with 1 absent.
Okay. Moving on to public hearing. Turn this over to staff.
So this evening, we have the Copper Trail Specific Plan and Annexation, and we have Vance that will be presenting.
Good evening, Chair Condit and members of the commission. My name is Vance Jones. I'm a planner with Wood Rogers. I lead the consultant team that was hired by the city to prepare the Copper Trails Specific Plan, as well as the associated environmental impact report and other studies that were prepared as part of this development project before you this evening. I'm joined virtually this evening by several members of our consultant team. Amy Lappin is here via Zoom. She works for Economic and Planning Systems, or we call them EPS. They prepared the public facilities financing plan that supports the specific plan. They also prepared a fiscal impact analysis for the city. Also joined by Charlie Simpson with Basecamp Environmental. His shop prepared the environmental impact report. And then finally joined by a colleague of mine, Mario Tambolini. He's in our transportation group, and his shop prepared the traffic impact study and the traffic study that supports the EIR. So I mentioned that they're here because if we do get some technical questions this evening, we might punt to them to answer some of that. So they're all available online.
Can we just try to speak more into the mic so the folks can hear you?
Absolutely. Is that better?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Stephanie, you mind advancing the slide, please? So as the next slide is coming up here, the project actually consists of a 681-acre area immediately south of the city's existing city limits, really just a stone's throw from downtown here. It's a larger annexation area that's comprised of 2 smaller areas. It's the Copper Trail Specific Plan area that's roughly 535 acres, as well as what we call the Pocket area, which is a 146-acre area. And on the diagram there, the Copper Trails area is shown in blue and the Pocket area is shown in yellow. And the reason why the pocket area is included as part of this is that because the project involves an annexation, if we were to annex the Copper Trails area, it would create an unincorporated island known as the pocket area. So that's not permitted. So they've been kind of brought in with this larger effort. Just to quickly orient you on the slide there, the project area is primarily located south of Service Road. Highway 99 serves as the eastern edge of the project area, and Blaker Road primarily serves as the western edge. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. All right. Oh, and then it gets too loud. There are several components associated with the project that we'll go through, but it involves a general plan amendment so we can amend the city's land use diagram in your general plan to coincide with the proposed uses and existing uses in the pocket area. A pre-zoning action that's required in order to establish zoning districts at such time that the annexation is complete. The specific plan itself, which is the regulatory guide for development within the Copper Trails area. An environmental impact report, which we'll get into, as well as an annexation. And so we'll get into those individually here shortly. Next slide, please. So general plan amendment, I'll hit on briefly. The city had foresight for this area south of its current limits when it last updated its general plan. And so the entire project area is currently within the city's sphere of influence. And so the city's general plan land use map does offer preliminary land use designations for that entire 681 acre area, including Copper Trails and the pocket area. And so as part of the general plan amendment would be more of a formal adoption of land use boundaries for all the various properties located in the project area. And so within Copper Trails, you can see the proposed land uses on the right side of the screen there. You can see the mixture of residential and commercial and parks uses very closely aligns with what was envisioned in the original general plan land use map. And similar with the pocket area, the proposed land use designations there align with existing uses because the pocket area has already been developed within the county and contains a mixture of single family residential, some multifamily residential, and some scattered commercial and light industrial uses. So really the proposed amendment to the general plan is just bringing all of the land uses once they come into the city in alignment with both the Copper Trails plan and existing uses in the pocket area. Next slide, please. Similar story with the zoning. It is a requirement of the city to establish pre-zoning for an area that's to be annexed into the city. And so for Copper Trails, the zoning becomes very, very simple. That large blue area would be for the planned community zone. Your zoning ordinance creates a special district for master planned areas such as Copper Trails. And so that zoning district would be applied to the entire Copper Trails area, which really what your zoning code allows is for all of the zoning type regulations to get punted to the specific plan document, which is what we've got. Within the pocket area, the zoning designations would simply be adjusted to align with their existing uses. And so what you see there is a mixture of residential uses or zone districts like R1, R3, R4, a couple of different commercial districts for neighborhood and community commercial, as well as a light industrial district titled M1. So again, these are consistent with the land use designations that would be applied to the project area and consistent with the general plan. Next slide, please. Talking about the Copper Trails specific plan itself, this document establishes the regulatory framework for the long-term development, and it basically serves as a development guide for that 535 acre. It helps implement the general plan. It works in tandem with the city's zoning ordinance to guide development activity, but it addresses all aspects with respect to land use, circulation, parks and recreation, public utilities, public services, financing, and implementation. It also includes master plans for those various utility systems. So there's a plan for backbone water systems, a plan for sewer systems, a plan for storm drainage. Similarly, it provides street design sections for roadway improvements because facilities like Service Road would ultimately be widened. So it provides the street sections to guide how many lanes and how wide they'd be, when that were to occur. Somewhat unique about this specific plans, it's not a required element of a specific plan, but Copper Trails does include zoning type regulations. So there are permitted uses and development standards for each of the development categories for all residential and commercial uses. It also includes design guidelines to help provide design guidance for the appearance of streetscapes, neighborhood design, and even architecture for commercial and residential areas. Most importantly, I wouldn't say most importantly, but very importantly, the specific plan incorporates by reference a public facilities financing plan, which is a requirement of state law. And that essentially identifies all of the costs associated with constructing backbone infrastructure and providing public services. And then it establishes and identifies the various funding mechanisms that can be implemented to ensure all of those features are constructed and provided as provided for in the plan. Next slide, please. And a quick look at the actual land use plan for Copper Trails. At full build out, this land use plan would allow for development of just shy of 2,400 residential units. That would be a mixture of both single family detached and multifamily attached units spread across 4 different residential designations. That large red area you see on the east side of the plan area adjacent to Highway 99, that's all designated for regional commercial, which would allow for upwards of 1.2 million square feet of non-residential uses. So that could be commercial centers, hotels, office, those types of uses to create some synergy along the Highway 99 corridor as envisioned by the general plan. But then the land use plan also provides areas for parks. There's 5 neighborhood parks, a series of greenbelt corridors that would be would knit them all together with multi-use paths and trails. A couple of sites identified for community facilities at the corner of East Redwood and I believe Moffett. That would be for if the city needed to construct facilities to serve this area of the city, such as maybe a new fire station, if that was deemed necessary in the future. And then it also applies school designations to the 2 existing school sites within the plan area, where Central Valley High School and Hydal Elementary School are currently located. Next slide, please. Talk a bit about the environmental impact report. That was determined by the city at the project's onset to be required to analyze all of the effects of the proposed project. Really, the purpose of the EIR is to document existing conditions, describe the project's potential environmental effects, identify any mitigation measures associated with those impacts to reduce impacts or avoid them altogether or reduce them to a less than significant level. A huge variety of topics are analyzed as part of that EIR, which are listed on the slide there. Everything from aesthetics to air quality, planning and land use, traffic and circulation, wildfire. And for each one of those topic areas, the EIR identifies the potential environmental impacts associated with them and provides mitigation measures to reduce those impacts to a less than significant level where feasible. So as part of this process, the EIR was really a good mechanism to involve the public as part of the Copper Trails processing with the city. That started back in September of 2023 when a notice of preparation was issued by the city, letting all interested parties and affected public agencies know that the EIR was being prepared and commissioned by the city. The Planning Commission held a scoping meeting in October of 2023 to hear comments from the public regarding the scope of analysis to be included in that EIR. That's in addition to what we already knew we had to analyze as part of that document. And after that scoping meeting occurred, the consultant team went away for many, many months working with city staff to prepare that EIR. And then in December of 2024, a draft EIR was made available for public review. It was circulated for a minimum 45-day public review period. And that was really the public's opportunity and other agencies' opportunity to review the EIR, determine its adequacy, and provide comments back to the city. And so once the comment period on the draft EIR closed, the consultant team went back to work again, reviewing all of those comments, working with city staff to craft responses to those comments. And then that's what helped formulate the final EIR. The final EIR is really a summary of the draft EIR, things that have changed as a result of the comments received, and any adjustments to mitigation measures and things like that done as part of the process. Next slide, please. One of the components of the EIR is the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program. That's a separate document somewhat attached to the EIR that would be included as part of certification of the EIR. And this is a requirement of state law to adopt an MMRP. And its purpose is really to ensure that any mitigation measures identified in the EIR are implemented as the project builds out. And it's really quite a simple table that's a comprehensive list of all the impacts and associated mitigation measures that assigns a responsible party for monitoring each one of those implementation measures. Also, as part of the project, the EIR analysis did conclude that there were 5 potentially significant and unavoidable impacts associated with implementation of the project. These are up on the screen there. They're detailed in the staff report, but in summary, they deal with the conversion of farmland, the indirect conversion of agricultural land, greenhouse gas emissions, vehicle miles traveled, and also traffic queuing at the on and off ramps of Highway 99 at Service Road. Now, while these impacts were identified and mitigation was not available to reduce them to a less than significant level, the EIR process does allow the city to examine these impacts and weigh the benefits that the project brings to the city against those impacts. And so the project does include a CEQA findings of facts as well as a statement of overriding considerations that provides the rationale for the city to make findings for each one of those impacts and why the benefits that the project brings outweigh the impacts. Next slide, please. And finally, just to touch on some of the required findings under state law. You know, the City of Ceres does operate as lead agency for preparation of the EIR. So as part of the certification of the EIR, the city's action is essentially saying that they acknowledge that the EIR was considered as part of the project's approval and that it complies with CEQA guidelines. And that it also include adoption of the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, and also include adoption of the findings of fact and the statement of overriding considerations. Next slide, please. And the final component that I want to hit on real briefly is the annexation. Again, Stanislaus Local Agency Formation Commission, or LAFCO as we call them, is the responsible agency for processing annexation requests. The annexation area shown here on the screen is roughly 681 acres. It includes a total of 244 parcels. As part of the annexation of this area into the City of Ceres, that annexation would also include detachment from 2 fire protection districts, the Ceres Fire Protection District and the Keys Fire Protection District, and that's to allow the Ceres Fire Department to take jurisdiction over that area. Next slide, please. So staff has analyzed this project for consistency with the general plan, the zoning ordinance, as well as other applicable city policies. All of the analysis and findings for that is contained in the staff report. We mentioned specific general plan policies and code sections and have demonstrated the project's consistency with city requirements. The Planning Commission is a recommending body to the City Council for this project. The City Council has ultimate authority over items related to changes to the general plan or the zoning ordinance and specific plans. And so because of that, staff's recommendation to the commission is that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution attached to the staff report that recommends that the City Council take several actions. And these actions include City Council certification of the EIR, adoption of the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, and adoption of the CEQA findings of fact, including the Statement of Overriding Considerations. Also includes a recommendation for the City Council to amend the general plan land use map to reflect the land uses in both Copper Trails and the existing uses in the pocket area. Includes a recommendation that the City Council approve the pre-zoning for the entire project area and amend the zoning map at such time that an annexation takes effect. And that the City Council approve the Copper Trails specific plan and the associated public facilities financing plan. And finally, recommending that the City Council authorize staff to file an annexation with LAFCO to bring the 681 acre area into the city. So with that, That's my portion of the presentation of the Planning Commission. Again, as questions come up, we have the balance of the consultant team available via Zoom, and I'm happy to field any questions that you've got now.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and we're going to start with the applicant. The applicant would like to say a few words.
Good evening, Chairman Condit and members of the commission. My name is George Petrolakis. I'm land use counsel for the developer, Mr. Nav Athwal. Nav and I are here tonight with Tony DeMello, the project engineer, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you have tonight regarding the Copper Trails project. First, we would be remiss if we didn't thank both the city staff and the city consultant team for their hard and thorough work on the project. As you heard, it's a complicated and multifaceted project: specific plan, general plan amendments, pre-zoning, annexation, and the environmental review. And we certainly recognize the amount of time and coordination it takes to put a package like this together. I'd like to single out, although everyone was involved, your city manager, Doug Dunford, and your city engineer, Mike Beltran, have spent a lot of time to get this package to you tonight. We'd also like to thank the Ceres Unified School District for our discussions to date. We have some more discussions we have to do. We haven't signed on any dotted line on any agreements or anything, but we appreciate the good faith at which the district has engaged in those discussions regarding schools in the project area. Mr. Athwal and a number of other landowners in the Copper Trails area have supported the city in its efforts to bring the project forward. This is logistically, financially, and through sustained participation, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight for your review. Early on, there was significant landowner outreach, and while Mr. Athwal is the lead developer and a landowner in the project area, this is not a single owner effort. There are many owners in the affected area, and a number of them have been involved in that support logistically and financially for the city's efforts. It's been a long process. There are always long process for bigger projects. It's really, we kind of say it's 6 years in the making, but I'm old enough now that I think I worked on this same area about 20 years ago, truth be told. And sometimes it takes all of that to get it before a planning commission and ultimately to a city council. Mr. Athwal and I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the late Mr. Stuart Fahmy, who was heavily involved in this area and shepherded the project forward in its earlier stages. His family remains involved in the project area. You heard really from your consultant, and I think I'm gonna shorten my comments because I think, like you, we want to hear from the public, and I'll come back and answer any questions that are directed at us at the end. But I think from a high-level policy standpoint, one of the key strengths here is that Copper Trails largely builds on concepts that you've had in your general plan and also in your sphere of influence area, which is sort of the LAFCO defined pre-annexation area without a lot of changes, as you heard. And so that really all we've done is we've brought a project forward in an area the city has previously planned for growth, in an orderly growth, and in a comprehensive framework in all those documents you heard about. So that project really has been designed to be as consistent as possible with your existing general plan and your sphere of influence, including, of course, the regional commercial along State Route 99, housing near schools, and a connected park system through the trail network. That's a very robust trail network for Stanislaus County that I think you'll be proud of for many years to come. The project presents a balanced plan, which isn't always the case, in that it has housing, commercial and services, a nice circulation, and I mentioned the parks and open space. The big thing here is you've got a balance between commercial land and residential land. And that's a big, I think that's a big component and maybe the most unique component. I don't think Ceres has this opportunity and any other parcels along State Route 99. It's not precisely the same, but I wanted to think of some analogies. And one was, I worked on the Crossroads West project in Riverbank, which had a large commercial component where the Costco went and the Home Goods. It's not exactly the same, but Ceres did a great job on your Walmart Center and all that wonderful retail you've gotten there right off the freeway. And by doing this across 99, you'll have a chance to capture more retail and quality commercial on this side of the freeway. And I think that is something that, for all the obvious reasons, I'd never like to focus on the sales tax and things, but, that's a reality of municipal government is those types of uses are important and help balance out the residential. As you heard, we have a wide variety of densities that will provide a variety of housing choices for people seeking to purchase new houses. And I think I'm going to stop there and just say that we certainly agree with staff and their recommendations to you, and we respectfully ask that you recommend to the City Council a certification of the EIR and approval of the project entitlements as proposed and recommended by staff. Like I said, I'll come back if there's things we can help answer from the public. And I just want to thank you for your time and attention, and we're available for any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Start with the commission. Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant or staff?
So a couple of questions, that I have. What percentage of the land use will remain the same from the existing to the proposed? If we were to take a look at or estimate it.
To understand the question better, the percentage difference between existing and proposed uses,
Yeah.
Is it in the pocket area, 100% of it would stay the same? In the Copper Trails area, pull out some math, it's really only the school sites that would remain the same. Everything else would be converted to some kind of urbanized use from its existing uses.
So when it was saying the existing land use designations on the left-hand side of the map, where some of them showed lower density residential and everything like that, compared to the proposed ones, is that just the general plan one?
That exhibit shows a comparison between what's in your general plan land use diagram now as somewhat preliminary land use designations for the city's sphere of influence. And so even though some of the like a park symbol might have been over here, as it was refined through Copper Trails, that park might have actually landed a little bit further north. So it's not an exact same, but it was a refinement of what was put in the general plan land use diagram. And overall, the mix of land uses, the mix of residential, the mix of park and non-residential, the commercial, we feel that is the same. It's just spatially distributed a little bit differently than what was in that original diagram.
Okay. And the second question was, would any landowner be obligated to sell or have to sell if this was approved or amended?
There is no obligation for a landowner to. A willing landowner has the opportunity to develop their property or sell their property consistent with the specific plan area, but there is no obligation.
And they could continue operating as ag if they desired.
Absolutely, correct.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for staff. In your estimation, is there any concern that this area might be isolated from downtown in any way? I know there's a bus route. I believe there's a bike lane across the overpath on, what is it? Service Road. I know this is a master planned community, and so it will be developing over time to be more dense, but is there any concern that it will be kind of really segued away from the larger Ceres area?
And I won't speak for some of the staff that live and work and breathe Ceres here, but as a planner, I don't feel like it would be segregated from the existing just fabric of the existing city. Service Road would be widened quite a bit to accommodate the additional traffic volumes in this area. That would include bike lanes. A new interchange at Service Road and State Route 99 is also planned that would enhance the connectivity on both sides of the freeway through that route. And then in addition, Central Avenue takes you right from the heart of the plan area straight up and into the downtown, which was something I discovered when I first did a site visit here a few years ago. It was like, oh, wow, it's really, if you wanted to, you could walk to get to the little downtown that we've got here in Ceres. But for those reasons, I don't feel like it isolates this development area. It just kind of builds upon the fabric of the community that's already been set in place.
Okay, thank you.
On that point, can you touch on Service Road a little bit more and how that will be improved?
I'll have to dig into the circulation section of the specific plan. But yes, there are portions of service road that currently are at full improved width, particularly along the northern edge of the high school. But we've got a couple different roadway design sections here. But in all instances, the roadway would be widened to include a total of 4 travel lanes going in each direction, or not each direction, total of 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, with a center turn lane. Would also include, in some instances, a street-separated multi-use path for the sole use of bicyclists and pedestrians. In some instances, that's a 12-foot wide sidewalk. In some instances, it's a street-separated path. But the roadway would be improved to be a minimum of 99 feet wide from curb to curb, or in right-of-way, I shouldn't say curb to curb, 99-foot wide right-of-way, upwards to 116 feet designated in right-of-way for that facility.
And would that be from, I believe it's Moffett to Blaker?
It would be between, the edge of the plan area, all of Service Road where the plan area joins Service Road. So yeah, that would be Blaker
Okay.
all the way to the new interchange when it's ultimately built at State Route 99.
And what is the timeline for that improvement as it correlates to phase 1 of this project?
So are you talking about the timeline for the improvement of Service Road, or?
Yeah, and how that connects to phase 1 of this project.
So generally speaking, as the frontages of properties develop, then Service Road will develop out also. We don't have a lot of non-contiguous improvements that actually happen. So generally, if a developer comes in and they have, maybe they've got 800 feet of service road that they border, then they would be required under conditions to widen that portion of service road as they develop their project.
Understood. Okay. And then what about the interchange?
The interchange is currently under design. We're working with Caltrans. Just had a meeting with the consultant this past week. Things are going well with Caltrans. With any of these big projects, they do take a while. We are still on track to have design done, hopefully by about end of 2027, mid 2028. And then at that point in time, we'll be looking for funding sources to fund the entire interchange project as we move through the process.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, go ahead and open it up to the public. I'll start with these green cards here. Going to start with Christy.
It's Christy Britton, correct? Just make sure I'm the right person here. So good evening. I'm Dr. Christy Britton. I am the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services for Ceres Unified School District, and I'm speaking on the district's behalf this evening. As the legal counsel communicated to you earlier when he was speaking about the project, we have been in talks with the developer, and I am cautiously optimistic that we will be able to come to an agreement that supports the needs of the district that all of these new residences will bring for the city. Unfortunately, we didn't receive that draft agreement until today, hence why I'm here this evening. So I do have a few points I just want to put on record in regards to the district and the project. We do appreciate the city's efforts in planning and we hope to continue to collaboratively work with the developer of Copper Trails to ensure that we have adequate student housing for all of the new students that the residential development will bring. We recognize this has been coordination between the city and the developer, and we have not been kind of part of those conversations until about 6 months ago in terms of this development coming to fruition. But again, are excited about what these residentials will bring for the school district as well as the city. The district's goal is to ensure that we have adequate school facilities and safe conditions in place to serve the new development, to protect our students, staff, and the community. We have been, as you know, we are in declining enrollment, but that declining enrollment is primarily at the elementary level. We have not seen the decline in enrollment at the secondary level or junior high or high schools at this point in time. And although the EIR did mention that we do have one elementary school that is currently not housing elementary school students, which is our Handline campus, it is housing about 10 classrooms for our Central Valley High School, which is part of the Copper Trails development. So as we fill up the Handline campus with elementary students, we will need to find a location for those at least 10 classrooms of existing students at the high school, and then the 2,400 additional residential facilities that will bring more students to the district. We will need more, especially secondary facilities for our students to go. So we've been working with the developer on a mitigation agreement in order to ensure that we have the adequate fees in place in order to add additional classroom buildings, whether those are portables or additional full classroom buildings to house those additional students when this development comes to fruition. The other thing that the district is concerned about, I think Chairperson Condit, you mentioned this, is the traffic. That is currently a challenge for anyone who is trying to get over to Hydal or Central Valley High School, either before school starts or when school is getting out, especially across that service road, kind of the 99 overpass area. We did receive some information from the developer in regards to some of the roadways and the expansion and sidewalks, which we know will be a very positive development for the school district in terms of that safe path of travel for our students getting to and from school. So I'm just here to mention that we're working with the developer. Unfortunately, don't have a signed agreement in place, but definitely optimistic that we will be able to make that happen very soon. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. If I could, I just have a follow-up on that. You mentioned fees. What would that look like? Can you explain that a little more?
So the school districts receive developer fees, both residential and commercial developer fees, just in general, anytime there's a new residential development or commercial development within the city. We work with the city on those. When you're looking at a large scale development such as this, we have a couple of mitigation agreements already in place for developments that have been on the books. The Service Landing development and the Whitmore Ranch development that are currently in place. Because we know that when those developments start being built, there'll be additional needs for the school district. And so there's a fee structure that we work with that developer to put in place to ensure that we have the money to build those buildings. And so school districts rely on those initial developer fees, those level 1, level 2 developer fees. We get some money from the state for new construction, but it doesn't even come close to what you would need to add on to add classrooms or add other buildings or build a school. And so that third prong of the fees that we usually will see for those expansions comes from a mitigation agreement with the developer. So that's what we're in talks with right now in order to put something in place so that when those buildings and residences start to come and we know students are going to be coming to school, we can have the money that's needed in order to build those classroom buildings to house those new additional students.
Understood. Thank you so much for being here tonight. All right, next speaker is Harinder.
Hello, good evening. My name is Harinder Tor. I own 2 parcels, both located on the corner of Central and Service. And I had this project for about 21 years now. I'm excited to get this across the finish line. This is 2.0. First time we tried, it just fell apart. Because I think at that time, city manager wanted to go ahead and mitigate all the infrastructure on Super Walmart, and Super Walmart got stuck and just kind of fell through the cracks, and then the 2008 crisis happened. So I'm very, very excited. I thank everyone involved in this project, putting it together, city staff, planning commissioners, and also the applicants and also the property owners. So I would like to see this across the finish line. There's another reason Ceres hasn't developed any large-scale housing is fact of fees. So please keep in mind for the school district or the city council to mitigate those fees to promote growth. So if the city would recognize that, putting low barrier of entry for housing, which is much needed in Ceres, and not impact with higher fees. I know the school district will get their fair share of fees, but if they're going to spike the fees, I don't think many developers will go ahead and accept that to move forward on this. So please keep that in mind. And I am very, very excited to get this project to the finish line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the Pyatt family. I think they're on Zoom, maybe. Oh, no, right there.
Good evening. My name is Jim Pyatt, and first I want to say that my father was involved in this the first time this was going around, 20 plus years ago. He passed away a couple of years ago. One of the last things he told me, he says, "Son, see this through." And so our family worked hard then. I know that there was some talk about the schools. I know that a lot of those schools were built because this was supposed to happen until the whole collapse we had in the home market. And for that reason, we have a lot of that infrastructure there. Sure, I'm sure there's going to take more and add on to the schools. That part I understand. But I want to stand here as a family saying, we've worked hard for this for 20 plus years. And I plead to the city to use your input and what your talents are to make this happen for all the families that are here, that were in that same position. We want to see Ceres flourish. I was at Ceres High School, finished there in 1976. It was my town. I worked on that ranch. I drove a tractor on that ranch every day. And yeah, I want to see this continue as a legacy for all the families that have been working on this for so many years. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Wrangler.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Council and Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your guys' time this evening. I don't have the privilege of actually living in Ceres. I'm a farmer in West Modesto.
Excuse me, can you please state your first and last name?
Wrangler Wheeler. Yep. I don't live in Ceres. I do conduct business within Ceres and pay taxes within the city of Ceres. And I do help represent a few landowners within the pocket area, which more or less feels like kind of the forgotten area or the added on area. Together we stand and together we achieve is what the city of Ceres represents. It's the sign behind you guys. And I have to admit, when it comes to a program or a plan like this, it truly feels like together we achieve. This has been a long-term plan that has been in the works for many, many years. And I highly encourage the passing of 5B. It's just been such a beneficial program for Ceres, such a beneficial plan of growth for a very long time. And it seems like it's very rare nowadays you can find a plan of growth that is this supported by citizens. Most of the time you come to meetings like this and you find nothing but resistance. Here is a crowd that is largely in approval of a plan of growth and prosperity for the city of Ceres and a very beneficial growth for the city of Ceres. I will encourage that. I wish we had more neighborhood involvement. It feels like outreach has been very limited. A plan of this scale, this room should be jam-packed. There should be standing room outside. I think city outreach and involvement has been very poor. But I do still encourage the passing of 5B. You mentioned this is the most attended zoning meeting. It's not a good thing. These zoning meetings should always be heavily attended. This is directly affecting the future of Ceres, and I truly believe that this should include a large amount of your population. Ceres is a city that's obviously growing. Your track record shows that. But Again, I really do encourage more involvement with your guys' residents and more better outreach from your guys' city council. But I do approve on 5B, and thank you for your time tonight.
Well said. Thank you. Next, I have Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Holmquist. We have a business on Service Road, and we're 2 acres, and we have a use permit. And then I wondered what happens with that if it's annexed. And I don't see how you can put 4 lanes on Service. You'll be practically in the people's homes across the street from us and take our property too. So I'm not sure about that. And then as far as we have a well, will we be required to hook up? Because that's probably 30,000 or more. And the taxes. Anyway, and we're in the pocket area. Do we have to be annexed? I'm concerned about too, like if I want to sell the property, can I sell it as with a use permit? 'Cause that's what we're working on. I think it's agricultural, and they gave it to us if you're involved in some type of agricultural business. So, but I'm concerned about Service Road. It's so busy, but you're going to have to, there's no room for 4 lanes. So I don't know. That part I do know. Has anyone really looked there?
Staff, can we try to answer some of her questions? We could start with, do you have an existing CUP? Is that what you're,
What's CUP?
the conditional use permit? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay. Staff, can we kind of try to answer some of these?
I can hit on that.
Okay.
So use permits run with the land. They don't run with the property owner. So if there is a use permit, even if the property is sold to multiple times to multiple people down the road, provided that that use remains consistent with the original use permit and there was no timeline on that use permit, that use can remain and it is grandfathered in. At such time that they want to make a change to the use that's on the property, it would need to conform with the existing zoning and land use that's on that property. But this was very thoughtful in what we did within the pocket area, was ensure that existing uses had a land use designation and a zoning district applied that were consistent with existing use of the land. So that should remain in perpetuity.
And her other question, does she have to be annexed? Or
so Local Agency Formation Commission does LAFCO policy does not allow for unincorporated islands surrounded by a city. So that's why the pocket area was defined, because of where the Copper Trails plan area is. It basically creates an island. And so yes, if Copper Trails were to be annexed, then the pocket area would need to go along with it.
Understood. Mr. Beltran, can you speak on Service Road and perhaps maybe the standard for a 4 lane in your expertise?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. So we do have some preliminary plans that show Service Road being expanded to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. We do believe that we can actually make it in there. We don't want to eminent domain. We don't want to do those types of things. That's not what we're in the business of. And so as we look at plans, we always try to refine the way we are, adding lanes and things of that sort to the roadway. And then I'll touch one other subject that you brought up was regarding your well. So when you annex, no, you're not going to be required to hook up to city water at that point in time. Now, if there was another development that happened, expansion plans, anything like that, that would trigger, a major building permit, those types of things. At that point, yes, you would be required to hook up to city water. But if you were to keep your area the same as what you're doing, for instance, with the CUP, no, there's no requirement when you annex to be hooked up to city water.
So you mean like if we expanded or any change like that?
If you needed to have, for instance, if you're a business and you're going to put in, you're going to do another building or something of that sort, then yes, most likely at that point you'd be required to connect. If you're a house, for instance, and you want to do an addition, we would require you to connect at that point in time also.
The only thing I really think you need to go look at that area. We're at 2418 East Service Road. But I can tell you, I mean, you can chop some of our property, but if you go on the other side, there's church and homes, and they'll be practically on the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, I have Nancy.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Fontana. I'm here with my sister, Sue Fontana Hackett, also. And our father, William Fontana, was raised in Ceres. And if he were still with us, he would be 100 years old. In 1949, my dad and mom, Mary Fontana, bought 17 and a half acres on South Central. And they had a vineyard there for a very long time. Back then, because as a child, I used to go visit the ranch. We called it the ranch. It was all country, rural, lots of farms and ranches, all growing different commodities. Today, the city is at our borders. We have the schools that the lady mentioned, and they are our neighbors, really. Sue and I have spent a lot of time and a chunk of money on Copper Trails since 2003. Here are the original documents. I did have to dig them out. And yes, we are very patient people. We are inviting you and the City Council to join us in promoting Copper Trails so that Ceres can continue to be a thriving community into the future. Join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Daniel.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Daniel W. Nichols. I'm the CEO of WLC Development Inc. in Modesto, California. I commend the council, I commend the planning department and the developer, because this project, you have to look 25 years in advance. This project right now looks just exactly like Village 1 did 25 years ago in Modesto, California. Peach trees, cattle, and I owned a piece of it. And there's some people that said, no, we're not going to annex this property. Well, their generations now, 25 years later, are begging the city of Modesto to let them rezone their properties from 5-acre parcels down to what I have on mine, because I bought in Village 1 to 3,000 square feet. And I really commend you for thinking 25 years ahead. But here's a suggestion I have. When you talk about Service Road, and you talk about all the utilities that have to go into this project, even the big developers like D.R. Horton, and I deal with them all the time, and Centex, and my partner now, that we're going to build 177 veterans homes. I'm looking for property in this area. That's why I'm here. I'm looking for 10 to 20 acres. When you talk about all the utilities that has to go into this project, no big developer is going to walk in and say, sure, I'll drop $15-20 million on development of the infrastructure and the service road extensions and hope to hell, excuse my language, that somebody comes in and pays me back over a period of 10 years or 15 years. Here's what I suggest. I suggest the city of Ceres go out and get a municipal bond for the cost to develop Service Road and bring all the infrastructure stubbed down to the developments. If they did that, and they have time to do it because it's going to take time to annex this through LAFCO and if they did that, you would see this development full in 6 years. But if you don't do that, you have individual developers have to come out here and say, like me, if I bought 20 acres, the 20 acres that I was looking at, my cost to bring the utilities down to it was $2.5 million. And there's no way that I'm going to go out there and have my partner, and who's a United States worldwide builder, put up $2.5 million in hope like somebody's going to come in there and develop it. So here's my suggestion, and I'll repeat it again. The city of Ceres, everybody involved with the city and the developers, the big developer who's developing this piece of property, should go out and get a municipal bond through the city because it's easier for you to do it than it is eventual individuals like me and the developers who develop it. Get a municipal bond from the federal government and the state of California and put in the utilities. Now, Modesto and Trevoli just did that on Sylvan. They put in the infrastructure. And as soon as they started that, they sold the KB. He's going to build 500 homes. Florsham just bought a piece of property. They're going to build another 500 homes. So that's what I suggest. I suggest the city look into it really, really hard to get a municipal bond to do the infrastructure. Then when the infrastructure comes in, and let's say you're charged 3.5% on the municipal bond, you charge 4.5% for the developer to hook up to you. So you're not losing money. You're getting your money back, plus you're making 1% on maybe $15 million over a three or 4 year period. And for the people that are fighting this, that don't want us to go into a big development, just all I can tell you is the northwest corner of Village 1, there was 12 landowners that had 5-acre parcels, fought it right up to the last. And this is 25 years ago. And now their generation that's have the property now, and they've resold it, want to develop it. When you're sitting here, where are you going to be in 25 years? Everybody out here, where are you going to be in 25 years? Your generations is going to come up and want to sell that property. And if you're not in that, they won't. The difference in land, Village 1 is $350,000 an acre. But those 5-acre parcels, they can't even get $150,000 for them now. Because they know the person coming out of the Bay Area, he's going to have to live there forever on a 5-acre parcel. He can't do nothing with it. He can't even make any money. And the only thing that makes this world go round is money. And thank you very kindly.
That's a good way to end it there. Thank you. Next speaker card is Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris Hughes. I've lived in Ceres my entire life. I was born and raised here. I've lived here. I've been in construction throughout my whole career. I've also expanding my skills into architectural and permitting work. We need this, I'm sick of having to do jobs far away. I've got friends that have to go to LA and work, there's a lot of opportunity and jobs that will come from this. And right now the almond farming and the ground doesn't really create that much opportunity for the community or for us. So please pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Judy. Yeah, sure.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Warren, City of Ceres. I was going to actually wait and go last. I was very interested in hearing what everyone else in this room has to say, whether they live in the project area or they're part of the project. I have some concerns and questions. You're going to certify an environmental impact report, and that impact report was open for a public review and comment, I think in December of 24. And it closed in January of 25. And I made a comment. I wrote a response to that, and I have not received an answer. And I don't know when the answers are going to come for the people who did make comments. I don't know how many did make comments. And I had some questions. And I would think that before this thing goes and gets a permit and goes to LAFCO, that the environmental impact report, you're going to certify something, and the public comments have not been responded to yet. There's a lot of things that are involved here. This project, like the gentleman said, will take a long time to build out. I don't know what the population of that area is right now. And I don't know if every property owner has been asked, do they want to be a citizen of the City of Ceres? Do they want this project? Yes or no? Have the people in the pocket area, have they been surveyed? Is there any data that each one of those people that live there, that work there, that have a business there, have they been asked, do they want to be a citizen of Ceres? Do they want the Ceres Police Department to police them? Or do they want the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office to police them? And the Highway Patrol taking care of all the traffic problems in those unincorporated areas? Have these questions been asked, and have they been answered? That's my big question. And the other thing is, if this does get developed and it is annexed into the city, who's going to pay for all the services while all the project is being built out? Who's going to pay for the additional police officers? Who's going to pay for the additional cost of our fire department, which we negotiate with the city of Modesto, and that's in the process of being done now? If we take over what Keys is doing now, that's an added cost to the City of Ceres. Where are those dollars going to come from? The City of Ceres is $3 million in the hole right now going into this next budget year. They don't have a full police department. The Public Works Department is going to have to take care of all the dilapidated roads in these project areas. Take a drive down Baker Road and see what it looks like. That road should be brought up to standards before the city accepts it. The state of California does that, and the federal government does that. The federal government won't allow Highway 99 to be part of the interstate system because it doesn't meet their standards. And the state of California has been trying the last few years to add more lanes to it and bring it up to federal standards, so the federal government will take over the responsibility of taking care of it. Well, before the City of Ceres received all that property down there and all those roads and all those streets, they should be brought up to standards so we can start off on a nice even keel and we don't have to do any repair work. There are a lot of things that need to be answered and addressed before we annex this area. If the City of Ceres had the money to do that, it might be something they should be considered, because the project will build out and it will take some time. Look at West Landing. I mean, we're going to have another West Landing. That thing's sat there for 10 or 12 years and is still not developed because there's no infrastructure. And then if these people have to hook up to the sewer system, Ours is way back. That sewer plant down there can't handle another drop. We're constantly sending sewage to Turlock, and we're constantly sending sewage to Modesto. When this gets developed, where's that influent going to go? Just some questions and things to consider before you send this to LAFCO and you approve a Thank you very much. These are some considerations, okay? And I think the answer to the environmental impact report is a big thing.
A point of order here. I'd just like to remind members of the audience to abide by the time limit. Thank you.
Judy?
I'm Judy Keys, and our property is within your boundaries of your changes. You mentioned this gentleman here that you proposed this ideal in 2023, and you had a first draft announcement or whatever in 2024. This is the first notice I've received. And that was to attend this meeting. Like this other gentleman said, your publication has not been very good. It could have been a lot better. I would have told you in the very beginning, no, I am 100% against this. 100%. Okay. You show no draft for preparing infrastructure before you annex this property. How do you plan? Who is going to pay for all the infrastructure that needs to go in? And eventually, yes, people that you are trying to annex will be forced to sign up or to a hookup to public utilities. And how much will that cost them? When this happened to us in Hawaii, it was $30,000 just to hook up to the sewage, not the water, just the sewage. So I'd like to know how much that's going to cost individual homeowners that you've gotten this annexation area. Can you answer that question?
Staff, do we have the answer to that?
So with our current fees right now, a residential house is about $12,000 for the connection fee. That does not include the contractor actually that has to hook up to the water line for them. But our fees are essentially $12,000 for a residential house right now. Those fees do go up by the inflation value every single July. And so they will increase July 1 again, generally by the inflation value, which is somewhere generally in between 2% and 3% right now.
And precisely what does that hookup fee cover? Just sewage?
No, so that is water only. Sewage is actually based off of your square footage, and it's, I believe, $7.41 per square foot for a residential house.
That can add up to be a nice little fee every month, in addition to the hookup fees. Okay. What I'm trying to say from beginning, when this is the only paper I got, nobody bothered to ask me if I wanted to be a part of this. That's wrong. What if I came to you and say, I'm going to turn your home and your neighborhood into a homeless shelter? Yeah, this just sounds to fit really good. This would be great. We need homeless shelters. How would you feel? Seriously, answer me.
Please continue with your comments, ma'am.
I'm serious. How would you guys feel if somebody came to you and told you, we're going to do this with your property and not even bother to ask us? That's wrong. You don't own the property. You didn't buy it. You haven't paid the taxes on it. You don't maintain it. We do. It's our property, and you do not have the right to tell us what you're going to do with our property. You need to work with us, and you need to consider us. I'm grateful to be at this public hearing, but this should have happened apparently 2 years ago when you started this. And I would have been here had I known. I've got to get my glasses off to be able to see. Last question, one of the next ones I have. What do you plan to do with the cemetery that's on our property? Have you even looked at that or considered that? That's going to come up and that's going to be a problem. That's going to require archaeologists and it's going to take some time. Has that been considered or put into your plan at all?
Staff?
So with regards to something of that sort, if you were to develop your property or anything like that, we're not going to develop your property. During your review of what needs to happen with your property, you're going to go through an environmental process also, which does include archaeology and those types of things. So if a developer or yourself were to come in and want to develop that property, those are things that they would need to address at that time. And mitigation measures, if any, would have to be implemented, whether that's protection or anything of the sort. So that is something that happens that the city doesn't do. We don't generally develop property. And so that is something that would be on either yourself or the developer as they come in to develop the property.
According to your map here, it is something you'd have to deal with because my property just happens to be that one you want to use for city facilities.
And in that case, we would go through the proper environmental process also. When we look at those types of things, we don't just go about and, go and destroy things because we want to. If there is something that comes up in an environmental process, all of those things have to be mitigated. So if it is a city facilities one, if we were to develop that, we would be bound by the same process as anybody else would be.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say I have absolutely no desire to develop my property. I personally like having a farm. All of you guys ate dinner tonight. You had food for dinner. Where did your food come from? See, we raise ours. We raise cattle. We raise all kinds of vegetables and fruits and nuts. We like having a farm. I don't want any more houses. I think there's enough. I'm tired of the overgrowth. I'm tired of watching every ranch turned into a darn subdivision or strip mall. We have enough. I think we need to better manage what we already have, not to mention the crime that's brought in high density housing and everything else you guys are planning. I really like having my rural little area. That's why we moved here. Those things need to be considered, and please take that into account when you decide to make your vote, because this is wrong to force this on people. Again, this is the only notice I've received. It should have been something that I received back in 2023 when this idea was proposed. So please take that into consideration. I don't know why that wasn't sent out to every residence that's affected by this, but apparently it wasn't. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I will definitely be keeping contact with you. And I would like a complete copy of this whole plan that's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Then the last card is Mr. Hilo does not wish to speak. However, he is in support of this item. Anybody else for public comment? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Thank you for taking my comment, Chair Condit and members of the Planning Commission. There were no more cards, so thank you for adding me.
If you could please just state your name for the record.
My apologies. My name is Mary Duffy, and I'm living in the Copper Trails area. I'm not great at public speaking, so I'll just take a breath. I don't think I can overemphasize the urgency with which, yes, I do believe Copper Trails needs to begin the phases. I've looked at the phases. I'm unclear as to when the timelines are going to be, but Ceres School District made that commitment to bring people to our area when they built Hydal, when they built Beaver, when they built the high school. I purchased my property on Redwood Road as a very rural property. There was a grape vineyard where Hydal is right now. And I can ask a question of you. Have any of you been on Moffett Road between Service and Redwood? Have any of you? Have any of you been on Moffett Road between Service and Redwood during school? Have you been on Moffett Road when school's out of session? It's two completely different areas. We had so much fog only a few weeks ago. There is no center line down Moffett Road. Ceres High School, the Ceres School District built Hydal in what, 2005? And there was no, when we think about community, when we think about what's important to bring something together, to bring a feeling of, I guess, community. I keep going back to community. What represents community in our town? It's our community center. It's also our schools. Yet we have schools. Hydal School, built in 2005. We have a school that students are not allowed to walk to school because there's no sidewalks. So when we talk about, yes, we were negligent in not providing the infrastructure 25 years ago. When's the best time to plant a tree? 25 years ago. When's the second best? Right now. And we do have due diligence to be able to allow students to come to school. What do we want to see in a school? We want to see after-school programs. We want to see parents involved. We do live in a socioeconomically disadvantaged area. So if a student wants to stay after school for Math Blast, but yet they ride a bus and they're not allowed to walk home, they're not allowed to stay for the Math Blast because there's no transportation for them. If we make the commitment to build a school and build a place where people gather, then I believe we need to follow through with that. And I'm not sure if that's the Ceres Unified School District. I'm not sure if that's Ceres itself. Can you help me answer that one? Can you answer that one for me?
Mr. Beltran.
So currently, right now, the city, all of that is in the county. So we don't have jurisdiction to build sidewalks and things of that sort in county jurisdiction. So when it comes down to it, once it comes into the city, development does start happening. Those types of things start to come about. Roads get dedicated so that they're wider, so that they can put in sidewalks. All of those types of things come in as development happens within the new annex area. But until it's part of until it's part of the city of Ceres, we won't go out there and put in sidewalks in, for instance, the county. They have much different standards as far as storm drainage and street standards, driveway standards, all of those types of things. So we won't go into county jurisdiction to do that at this point in time. And then once it comes in and developers come in, they will eventually they'll bear the brunt of putting in those sidewalks and widening streets and things of that sort.
Thank you. It seems to me that there should have been an agreement back then. Also, one question I have, the original plan showed our property in low density housing. I'm looking at this current plan and it's showing a split between the park and housing. And how does that work when a property is split between parks and housing?
Feel that it's quite common from a land use perspective to have a plan that looks one way, but as what city process small lot tentative subdivision maps for those areas, those boundaries for parks and residential parcels begun to be refined, reflective of existing property ownerships. Because this is specific plan level, we're still at roughly 10,000 feet looking down. And so as future development proposals come forward and are processed by the city, those boundaries get refined through that process.
Thank you. So thank you for your time. I do urge these phases to be started as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else for public comment? I'm sorry, sir, you already had your 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am, come on up. Yep.
Hi there, my name's MJ. You guys ready to go home, huh? Yeah. I really liked what you said, Dan. How you doing?
Doing great.
You need to hire this guy. Anyway, I am for this coming together. I am for it. I hope that you start actually where we have all these ranchettes, because what I'm understanding is the overpass, which needs to be started now, like ASAP, because someone mentioned about the traffic on Service. It is ridiculous. And I was thinking about getting signs, because they're standing there. How do you like sitting here for, hours trying to get over the overpass? And just to show what it looks like, I'm sure maybe you've got caught in it a couple times. I hope, it's a consideration. I know it can go any way you want. I know Nav has a big pasture that he would like to develop first, but I personally don't want to live where more and more traffic is. I want to be gone before, if that's a possibility, because there's a lot of little ranchettes there. The school is right across the street from me. And before the school was built, we had 50 cars every day total, and now there's 1,000. So I hope you consider developing first where the little ranchettes are, and get that overpass going. Build the infrastructure. Look at what Turlock did. All these roads came up, and then boom, everything, and they supply money, right? Taxes, businesses like where Tractor Supply, they're paying Ceres too. So if that can happen first, you guys, it's golden. Just like Dan said. I know this guy. Watch out. Thank you.
Ma'am, can you please state your name for the record, please?
MJ Misailidis.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, council's telling me no. I'm sorry. You already had your 5 minutes. Renee, come on up. But we're going to try to hire you for the city, so we'll talk after the meeting.
Renee Ledbetter. I'm a resident of Ceres. I live on Don Pedro Road. My family has tried 20 years ago to be a part of this project, and it's time for this project to take place. We've waited a long time. I'm also a realtor, and we need housing in Ceres. It's very crucial. We need commercial space. We need retail space. I get calls every day for office space in Ceres, and I have none to show. So we definitely have a need for this project. I definitely would like to see Service Road improved. I get onto Service from Collins every day, and during school, it is a wreck. So, and I'm really glad that the person who lives on the corner of Collins and Service finally cut down their tree so that we could see oncoming traffic. So I commend them for that. But this is a long time coming. It's a great project, and we would like to see it come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Anybody on Zoom?
No, nobody on Zoom.
Okay. Final call. All right, going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this item, bring it back to the commission. I do have a couple questions for the applicant. Some of the questions that some of the neighbors brought up. As far as the public notices, can you speak on what the city required you to do as far as outreach to the public?
The noticing really is a city process, so I would ask them to speak to it.
Julian, off the top of your head, do you know the standard protocol that we're using?
Above and beyond, I'll take that
perfect.
to the extent I can field it. Above and beyond what's required in state law through the CEQA process, I'm not aware of any formal public outreach process that city staff required as part of this outreach. We did follow all the mandated CEQA requirements, the notice of availability, the scoping meeting, all of those early on. So there were several milestones, if you will, through the processing of the project, where public notices were made available and the public and all affected agencies were made aware that this project was being considered by the city.
And to the applicant, is anybody within Copper Trails forced to develop?
No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, as far as, I wish the city manager, perhaps the chief could have been here, but I did reach out to Chief Johnson as far as the law enforcement side of things, because we're adding 6,700 residents to Ceres, pushing our population just about 55,000 people. In the general plan, it does state a goal of having 1.3 officers per 1,000 residents. This would require the Ceres Police Department to have about 72 to 73 officers. Right now, as I spoke to the chief on the 26th of February, we have 37 officers. So, and that's deployable right now. We have on paper 47 allotted positions. So that is a concerning number. We need 72 peace officers to patrol our city with this growth. And again, we have other projects in the works as well. And the chief did say, and I'm going to share this, we could manage growth in the short term, but long-term staffing needs to match development, and if we want to keep the same level of service. So I'm just going on record to the next step of this when it goes to the city council, that services to the public, fire, police, sewage, etc., that needs to be considered as we grow our city. So just kind of a concerning number that we almost need to double our police force. So, and then another question that I did have was neighborhood parks. These are specifically neighborhood parks, so there's no parking. Is that correct?
On most of the neighborhood parks, there would be street parking, but not necessarily like a parking lot, if you will, like say, for instance, that River Bluff has.
Okay. I guess I'm the only one with the questions tonight, but another one for the applicant on the commercial development. Can we get, I know it's in the plan, but I would really like it on record. What sorts of retail are we going to try to be attracting? And Julian, maybe you can jump in on this. But I think it's important to get that on the record.
Dan might have the answer. Retail commercial, that's one of the hardest things to predict, honestly. I mean, so these are all opinions. Given the location on 99, now that, the interchange and stuff, will play into this. But long term, that's why it's called regional commercial, right? I mean, that's kind of bigger, big box and things like that. Although it's enough acreage, it could accommodate all kinds of things. I think there's a hotel site there, for example, which is needed. And so that's really hard to predict, though. I mean, all we can do is sort of provide a package that has land near our freeway. We don't have a lot of freeways in Stanislaus County, right? We got that one and I-5. And so what cities do, for example, I had the honor to represent the pioneering developer in Patterson on the big business park out there. And it's just really hard to predict what's going to come. All a city can do is provide the land with the proper entitlements and a reasonable financing plan, which is what we're trying to do here. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer.
Yeah, no worries. Julian, can you speak on that topic?
So on the regional commercial, it's just going to be based on how we sell our city for big boxes or for development for that area. So as the economic development would be, once it moves to annexation, there's a better opportunity for those big box retailers, hotels, movie theaters, family entertainments to actually take a look at that land. Then it's up to them to actually come out and make those decisions as for the landowners to purchase that piece of property. But we will do our best to vet Ceres. The only one is once it gets annexed, and we have that regional commercial that we can utilize, just like Gateway on the other side.
I think it's important that we try to attract businesses that we do not have. I think, again, as I stated at our last meeting, we have a reputation for getting repeat businesses. And I think Ceres residents deserve something unique, like a movie theater, a bowling, something that keeps them in our city. And I just kind of want to emphasize that tonight. So let's see. The other question I had was regarding traffic study. Was that conducted? And if you could kind of just speak on in general about that.
Well, I'm hopeful that Mario Tambolini is still on the line and that we could light him up. We did a couple of different traffic studies as part of this effort. One was initially to support just what's required as part of the EIR analysis, which in recent years has transitioned more towards vehicle miles traveled and less about intersection capacity and roadway capacity. But because that's somewhat of a void and the city had questions about that, city actually commissioned having a traffic impact study prepared as well that analyzed intersections. We did traffic counts and looked at those. Do we happen to know if Mario is available to speak about the types of traffic analysis that we did?
Yes, I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Mario Tambolini with Wood Rogers. As Vance mentioned, we helped prepare the traffic studies for this project. And just to provide a little bit more detail on what we did, as Vance said, there were two main studies. One was called the local transportation analysis, and that basically we went out and looked at all the major intersections and roadways within the project area and within the surrounding areas. So looking at the nearby interchanges and major roads. We took traffic counts on all those streets. We came up with predictions of how much traffic the project would add to those streets. And we also predicted how much traffic there would be on those facilities from growth from other projects in the area over the next 10, 20 years. And so basically we put all those traffic numbers together and we analyzed what the operations of all those roadway facilities would look like. So how much delay there would be at traffic signals, how much queuing there would be at interchanges, at stop signs, and identified anywhere where there was unacceptable levels of congestion, usually where you're waiting for more than, say, 30, 40 seconds at a stoplight. That would get flagged, and we came up with a list of improvements. So where traffic signals or roundabouts need to be installed, where roadways need to be widened, where potentially the freeway interchange improvements would be needed and what that would look like. And basically we have a whole list or a whole map that shows where all those improvements would need to occur. And with the implementation of those improvements, that would bring traffic, even with all the new project traffic from this specific plan, to acceptable levels. So basically, if you install this and the project would be responsible for paying their fair share or implementing most or all of these improvements, you would basically be back to relatively low delay conditions, which again means relatively free flow conditions, low queues, delays of typically only 10, 20, 30 seconds at a traffic signal, not anything longer than that. So that was kind of the first main study that was done. Any questions about that?
Yeah. So did it see a relief from the current road conditions that we currently have?
It did, yeah. So I mean, as has been mentioned before, we know that there is quite a bit of traffic at the interchange at Highway 99. Obviously, if you build this project, it's going to add even more trips to that. But with the new signals, the road widenings, the interchange improvements that will ultimately be built in those areas in cooperation with the city and Caltrans, the delays and the queues at those intersections that are bad today, you might have to wait 60, 70, 80 seconds at a signal today, at multiple signals in a row. all those get fixed with these improvements in the future. So you're only waiting maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds at each signal. So you're having or better the delay in a lot of cases.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Any other questions? My last kind of point is the phase timeline. Can you speak on the different phases and hopeful timelines?
So there is no mandated timeline with build out of a project like this. It's purely responsive to market conditions. Same way with the commercial sites. It's really putting together a land use plan and development plans that position the plan area to respond to market demand. Same way with housing. The city can process tentative subdivision maps for the residential areas within the plan area, but there needs to be a demand for that. And so the timeline really is tied to market demand and how quickly the land areas within Copper Trails can be positioned and be ready for home builders or commercial developers or those types of things. When it comes to phasing, we in the specific plan, we have a phasing diagram that notionally maps out what order development would proceed. That's really geared more towards backbone infrastructure and the utility systems needed to serve those parcels. So you don't have some outlying parcel that wants to go first that doesn't have any utilities there to serve it. And so really what the phasing plan is pointing out is that, okay, if you extend utilities to this area of the plan, these are the properties that, quote, light up and become available for the market to respond with development. So it's not dictated by any specific timeline. It's more about getting the infrastructure in place to support future development activity.
Can the applicant speak on any sort of timelines, or is that answer sufficient? Okay. I have concerns as far as the interchange and these phases colliding, because I feel like if these move ahead in this interchange, which, I don't know where the city's going to come up with the funding for that, but I see some collision there. If all these phases get complete and we're still waiting on an interchange, what happens then? Mr. Beltran, I guess I ask you for all the answers to my questions, but.
So, obviously, yes. So with the interchange, obviously we're in design right now. As we move forward, we will be looking for funding because, it's not going to be a project that is funded directly from the city or directly from Measure L. It is going to need grant funds, whether those grant funds come from, state good movements grants or build grants or even earmarks. There's lots of different ways to have those funding sources come through. We are on the Measure L list. So as we approach needing funding, at that point in time, it's not only the city that's going to be reaching out, it's also going to be StanCog that's going to be involved in it, just like they are with SR 132 and other Measure L regional projects. So as we do that, sure, could there be even construction going on at the same time? By all means. And when we do get to that point, there will be robust plans, detour plans. I'm not going to say that's going to make things easy. Construction is inconvenient and it has always been and will always be inconvenient. There's no real way around that. So to say that, sure, could we be constructing at the same time, or could a development or 2 or 3 happen in the Copper Trails area or even more before that interchange happens? Yes. Will we see an impact to traffic? Absolutely. And then as we move forward, and the interchange comes to fruition, then those will start to ease. But growing is difficult. Growing is inconvenient, and there will be some growing pains along with it.
Thank you for that.
I do have a final question. It seems in the phasing, one of the commenters mentioned sidewalks, walking to school. That seems like a major public safety issue. That seems pretty basic. I don't know who would be kind of responsible, but as Ceres Unified works with kind of their contract negotiation activities, that seems like something that might be prioritized. I'm not sure if we talked to the school district or the developer. I'm just curious where that would.
So we do have conversations with the school district. We've been involved with this project. Sidewalks become an interesting type of deal, especially so when a development happens, most of the time there's what we call a dedication of land to right of way, for instance. So essentially it's a slice of their property where we need to widen roads, and that includes putting in sidewalks, park strips, those types of things. We generally do not force somebody. So if we wanted to put in sidewalks right now, we're surely not going to put them in the current right of way, because when a developer comes in, if we just spent $2 million on sidewalks, they're going, once it gets dedicated and they have to widen the road, they're going to tear out all of the work that we just did, whether it was, it's in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So I wouldn't see that as a prudent use of taxpayer funds to put in sidewalks. So those types of things generally happen as developers dedicate land to the city, roads get widened, sidewalks get put in. And that is a requirement of development, just like, internally when they build homes, for instance, cul-de-sacs, they put sidewalks, they put landscape strips, they put all of those types of things in. So there is an order that we have to go in so that we're not throwing away money to build sidewalks that are going to be destroyed in the future.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. It's a great showing. My final comments, I will be supporting this tonight. I think it's an overall great project for the future of Ceres, and I think that was relayed pretty well by the audience tonight. My biggest concerns is growing our police department to ensure these 6,700 residents of Ceres have the proper staffing and services. And also the commercial development. I want to see something unique to the city of Ceres, perhaps something that Modesto and Turlock doesn't have. And I know that's maybe hard to find as they beat us to Chick-fil-A, beat us to this and that. But Ceres, we need to be competitive when it comes to that, to give our residents something to enjoy in the city that they call home. But overall, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It means a lot. And I think this is a great project for the city of Ceres and its future. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve, and looking for a second.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Can we go to roll call?
Commissioner Jamu,
Aye.
Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Perez,
Aye.
Chairperson Condon.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-5, 1 absent.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to unfinished business, none, new business, none. Matters initiated by the Planning Commission staff. We have an update, or we could let the room clear.
Sorry. Yes. No. Okay. Yes. No, we're fine. So on your referral from the last commission meeting,
yeah,
we have consulted with the city manager and the attorney, so we will be preparing something to come back to the planning commission at a later date, whether it's the Brown Act or something to that effect. It will be a training that will be provided by the legal team.
Is that going to encompass every part of my referral as far as,
We're going to try to cover everything. If not, we'll come back for another one.
okay. I think it'd be important for everybody to be here, and I'm glad it kind of got delayed because Bob's absent. So yeah, good with me.
Yeah. So we'll make sure we have the full commission
Okay.
on that
Public
presentation.
and a public meeting.
At a public meeting, yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody got any reports? And none. Thank you both. Thank you guys. Going to go ahead and adjourn to our next meeting on April 6th, 2026.